All right, guys, welcome to our first recording ever of episode number 4. We totally did not have any kind of inclement weird noises that started this podcast on the first go.
No dog barking
No,
whatsoever.
no dogs, no Austin barking as a dog, nothing like that.
No.
We're totally normal around these parts, but we're still here. I can't believe we've not been taken off the air somehow. Just someone just listening to our idiocy. Oh my goodness, I can't even say a word. Anyways, welcome back. Make sure you're following the Instagram at 4Wide. That's FOURWIDE 4Wide. Not the number 4, but the letter 4. Can be confusing for some. We're also on X. Never post on there, but hey, we're there. If you want to follow an endless void of nothing, that's where you want to follow. That's basically all the business stuff. So we're going to throw it to Blake. And how are you doing today, Blake?
I'm
Other
good,
than
man.
your dog barking and interrupting our conversation.
Yeah, shout out to Pippin there. No, I'm good, boys. It's good to be on here with y'all as always.
That's good. That's good. Let's throw it to one of our other dogs that's on here. We got Mr. Kent wearing his Georgia gear.
How about them dogs that just knocked off the Gators? Let's go.
In basketball.
Basketball school, baby. Basketball school.
The bouncy ball, you know what I'm saying? And then
Sure.
we got Mr. Senor Joey Logano, number de uno fan, Austin, here with us.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Si, senor. I do not know the Espanol, even though I took 4 years of college Spanish.
And they're not using this as the Mexico City promo.
Nope, that is a nada. That's a no. All right, guys, let's talk about Atlanta. I guess we'll start with the old trucks. Notable finishes. Number P de uno. You got Kyle Busch getting that Dubski. Absolutely, which we'll talk a little bit about, but just a masterclass of just a veteran presence in the truck series. P2, we had Stuart Friesen. Very much was a surprise for a lot of people. Friesen, it would have been cool to see him get that win. I ain't gonna lie to you, but it was also nice to see Kyle Busch catch that win. Actually had a surprise finisher in the top 5 with Bailey Curry and the number 44 truck. That was a very nice effort by that team. P6, you had Honeycutt finishing with the number day 45. And guys, this kind of leads into my first point. Gio Ruggiero, P11. That P11 doesn't showcase how amazing he was again on back-to-back plate tracks. So I do want to mention and ask you guys if you think, is this Gio, man? Is he going to be one of those guys to watch out for this year? Is he going to be the guy that prevents Corey Heim from getting that record amount of wins that Austin predicted earlier this year?
You know, past 2 weeks, I mean, he's definitely made a name for himself, at least for this season, right? So it'll be interesting to see.
Reserving that take because we've done 2 plate tracks, So, we won't see the trucks again until Vegas. And I think once we start getting into to Vegas and some of these other more different tracks, I think that'll really show, as a Macho Man Randy Savage will say, the cream rises to the top.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And you, man, what about you, Kent? Have you been impressed by Gio so far this year?
I mean, it's impressive to rattle off some good finishes. I mean, it says something about taking care of your stuff and getting to the end. But that's really all the first 2 races have been. Right now, Atlanta required a little bit more skill. So, I mean, you got to tip your cap to them. Not to say Daytona didn't because of the truck series. I think we all agree is a different story than the other series and being able to run up front and kind of control the race and stuff. Those trucks handled a little bit differently. But like Austin said, we got the ovals coming up, and so we'll see. You've seen guys get hot starts before and just kind of completely fall off the map. So something to look out for sure. But I think we table it for now. Come back to this after Vegas.
The only reason that I mentioned Gio being kind of impressive is he's not known for these plate appearances. He's very much known as your standard oval kind of guy. Like the bull ring essentially is what I've been told before. And seeing him be looking this good on plate tracks is very much a impressive feat, in my honest opinion. That's the only reason I mentioned, if he's this good at plate tracks, how is that going to translate to the ovals? And you would think that he might be more of a natural when it comes to that. So very scary if you pick someone to win a certain amount of races this year, and having this guy it's very much a wild card. So, I mean, let's talk about Kyle Busch, guys. Let's just talk about how a man can just absolutely showcase his veteran prowess by just showing the kids how it's done. I mean, that's honestly what this truck race was to me.
Yeah, so I've yet to miss a truck race on this new surface. I've been at every single one of them since they repaved this track. Kyle Busch, of course, has run in the last 2 of them. And when it seemed like no one else wanted to race, when it seemed like you would have guys that just got content with getting in line, Kyle Busch was like, screw that. I'm going to the front. And what would happen is when you have someone like, a veteran like Kyle Busch jump out of line in front of you, you go with the guy. He knows where he's going. He knows his way. And so the best way I could describe Kyle Busch, and we're not talking Xfinity yet, but this will apply to Austin Hill in a little bit. Watching these drivers drive to the front is as predictable as gravity. I mean, it really is. There is a gravitational pull that gets these guys to the front. And so Kyle Busch, just watching him dominate. I was there, peak Kyle Busch 2013, winning in Atlanta in the Cup Series when everyone gave him the middle finger salute, right? And that's, I don't think we realized how good we had it watching peak Kyle Busch right there in his prime. But at the same time, seeing him today, I told my buddy, took him to his first, you're going to tell your grandkids that you got to see Kyle Busch win a race. Doesn't matter what series. And when it's all said and done, we saw one of the greatest of all time wheel it to the front. And it was, the move he made on Friesen there at the end to pull him back was perfectly timed. Just chef's kiss. Beautiful.
Side draft, man. Watching how masterfully that was done, that's all it took for him to be able to pull that out. If you had a inexperienced driver up front that probably wouldn't have pulled that side draft off, you would have had Friesen win that race, 100%.
Or a wreck at the field.
I mean, we ain't talking ARCA yet. I mean, you know what I'm saying? But it was very impressive to me, and it was a really good race in general. The truck broadcast guys, Fox knocked it out of the park. And I mean, you got to credit to the 2 Cup guys that were in that broadcast. I know Kent was not probably able to listen to the broadcast, but you had Joey Logano and Brad Kay together. These guys are former teammates at Penske, have fantastic chemistry with each other, just feed off each other really well. And there's no awkwardness when it comes to your jokes and whatnot. It's just very natural, free flowing. And I even felt that Jamie Little did a really good job with this race.
There was a good mutual respect, I think, between Joey and Brad. And I think that's what you get when you're both been competing in the sport for, gosh, how long have both of them been in the sport? For almost 2 decades almost.
Yep.
And that's just the kind of the chemistry they have. But they both know how plate tracks work. They both have wins at plate tracks. They know how it works. Brad is known for being the hardest pusher on the track, and Joey's known for being one of the most aggressive guys. So it was a good fit seeing them 2 together in the booth. And I agree. Overall, the broadcast was really good.
A good step up from former weeks. So I would say that old Sam Mayer would probably give old Brad a run for the aggressive pusher, because that man was pushing hard in the Xfinity series, which we'll get to. I will note that there is a couple of asterisks by the names of these guys. Corey Heim and Riggs had terrible days, but had fantastic trucks.
Hats off to Corey Heim. There with about 2 to go, I watched this man just get out of the lead pack. He could have very much shaped who won that race, and knowing that he was a lap down, watching him pull aside and just let them have at it. When he might have, to your point, had the best truck, class act. That was just smart. I'm sure that he probably had some coaching, a crew chief, a spotter that said, hey, let these guys decide it. But that was pretty cool.
He's getting some Cup starts this year, too. Did y'all see that?
Yeah.
I'm excited for him.
65 car, right?
Yeah, I think so. For 2311. I think Lane probably had one of the best truck and one of the worst days. Went down below the double line at the end of the stage, got nabbed for it, and then lost all power in his truck right after. He was clearly the favorite after that first stage, and then just everything hit the fan.
Yeah. And when your teammate Chandler Smith had a great truck, but it wasn't even close to what Lane Riggs had.
Well, especially
at the start, at least.
Especially on a super speedway, when you can pick them off one by one like he was doing. You don't see that every race. And as a driver, you definitely don't always have that good of a truck or good of a car. So Yeah, that was unfortunate, especially as a Lane Riggs fan. Like, even I texted in the group chat, I'm like, I don't know if that was legal or not. But yeah, it was unfortunate. But hey, as a Lane Riggs fan, I am really impressed with the speed that they've had so far. Granted, I know it's super speedways, but the overall raw speed that they've had, I'm impressed with them so far this year.
Front row's historically great at plate tracks too. So
Very
I mean,
true.
it's kind of blended really well. Not even just at the cup level. Now it's kind of going to the truck level. And even before that, you had Zane Smith winning truck races at Daytona. And I really would love to change my championship pick to Lane Riggs now after seeing his first 2 races this year. I know it's plate tracks, but knowing how good he is, especially last year towards the end, when he was starting to get that rookie momentum, like just starting to build up really well, he's going to be a hot ticket.
Wait till them short tracks.
Yeah, it's going to be great. But I did want to mention that Corey Heim and Lane Riggs had a terrible day, but it didn't showcase what kind of great equipment and trucks that they had, their capabilities. So,
Hey, Cole, real quick, can I share an official statement from the crew chief of Kligerman's car from Daytona?
yes, sir. Go ahead.
He released a statement regarding the disqualification because Kligerman, the ride heights were too low. He said, "We believe the post-race failure resulted from a misunderstanding between 2 NASCAR inspectors and our team, which led our road crew to follow incorrect instructions on the height sticks process. There was no malicious intent. However, we firmly believe our truck was not measured correctly and was not held to the same post-race inspection procedures as the other trucks. Due to this miscommunication, our front end measured an inch higher than necessary to clear heights, which in turn lowered our rear and below its minimum clearance, resulting in the disqualification. If our truck had been inspected the same way as everyone else's, we would have passed." And Bob Hockeris added a comment to that. He said, "It's my understanding that in post-race truck tech, teams remove the shocks. So like if you have a damaged shock, that's not a deciding factor in post-race inspection. And then you lift the front as it rolls on the platform to go through the height stick. So how much you lift the front impacts the rear." So Kligerman's team is stating that the 2 NASCAR officials that worked with them did not give them the proper procedures for them to follow, and because of that, they were unfairly disqualified from an actual race win.
I mean, I feel like everybody knows our opinion, especially after last week on this, is give that trophy to old Parker Kligerman, let him keep everything, which I think he kept the flag. I'm not sure if he kept the trophy or not, but you just hate to see it, especially as good of a person as Parker is. And, I mean, that kind of leads into our Xfinity talk because, I mean, he's obviously a broadcaster for the CW network. So give Parker Kligerman the win, and let's just say this is over. I mean, Corey Heim's going to win 7 other races this year anyway.
For real.
I mean, come on. So, Xfinity, guys, I mean, is it really surprised to end up finishing P1? I mean, Mr. Stricter Plate, Atlanta, whatever, Bennett Man, Austin Hill, just absolutely whipped the field. Props to him, which we'll get to. We'll give him his flowers, but let's finish up with noticeable finishes. You had Eric Almirola, P3. Really good run for Eric Almirola in that number 19 car, especially his first start being at a quote-unquote restrictor plate track now. That's really dang good. And I love Eric. Eric's a very great guy. P5, we got old Nick Sanchez with one of the most beat-up looking cars you've ever seen in the top 5 in the Xfinity Series. I'm surprised he was able to bump draft with that, which, I mean, they're not able to lock bumpers, essentially, with the Xfinity Series. He got it did, so that's all you can ask for. Then you got Jeb Burton, P6, in that number 27. First chassis that was hung at Jordan Anderson Racing, I believe is what the broadcast said. So that was a really nice accomplishment for those guys.
And I think they stated on the broadcast that he broke a record for the most consecutive finishes at a plate track. He is I don't think in his career he's
No
wrecked
DNFs.
out. No DNFs at a plate track, which is incredibly impressive.
He's a pretty good super speedway race. I mean, he's got
I would say so.
2. No, I know, but he's got 2. I think it's 2 wins at Dega. Is it?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah. He may. I'm not gonna say he's won Daytona, but it almost feels like he has.
He won Summer Daytona, I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Hey, I'm glad that I was right for once. That's always great. Daniel Dye, P7. I mean,
I've been wondering about him because, I watched the Truck Series last year, showed a lot of potential in the 43 car, but it seemed like he always got caught in crap like Rajah, it feels like he gets caught in crap every single week. And that's why I think Xfinity is a better proving ground than trucks for talent, because trucks is it's that. But I'm really excited to see how he's starting off the season. I'm kind of reserving, kind of like with Ruggiero. Yeah, just kind of waiting to see kind of how he does on these oval tracks in the Xfinity cars. But I'm really impressed with how he started off the year.
He's cut the afro off too. Like, he used to have the fro, and now he's like crew cut. Actually got to see him talk on stage at Daytona. I'm like, is this even the same guy? Like, I've seen this guy before. He looks totally different. I like the look. I like the old look. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but I don't know. So, number 10's Colleague, correct? Okay. Josh Williams actually qualified really good there, and just kind of disappeared towards the middle of the race, which I hate to see. We all love Josh Williams around these parts, especially in Atlanta.
He has a history of disappearing at Atlanta.
Sometimes walking across the track and disappearing.
So, y'all want to hear something funny? I was at that race, and it was super cold that day. And so, like, I'm freezing my tail off. All I have on is a hoodie. And I was like, well, here's my excuse. So I went and bought, Chase Elliott jacket, and I come back, and when I get back, my buddy tells me everything that I missed. I'm like,
no, you missed it?
Yeah, that was a bummer. Here's the best part. I spent like $140 on that jacket. I get back to the car, and my stinking Carhartt was sitting in the back seat. So it just was not a good day. Yeah, it was just, it was frustrating. And now I'm a Byron fan. So I don't even know I still wear the jacket. I still wear it. It's cool. I don't care. But anyways, I wear it with a Jeff Gordon shirt underneath and with this bad boy. But anyways.
It's whenever Chase wins, he throws it on. You know what I'm saying? Like, at Bowman Gray, first he went.
I'm a fair weather guy. Yeah. I'm a fair weather guy.
Yeah. I feel you. Harrison Burton, P10, doing really well so far. Much respect to him. I know he got a lot of slack last year with his, people would consider a disappointing year at Wood Brothers, but he's been showing really well for AM Racing, especially with how rough they were last year. He's been putting some good finishes in so far this year.
I think Harrison just got moved up too quickly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What was it, 2021, 2022? 2021. Or maybe it was 2020. I don't really remember, but he had a great rookie Xfinity season. And even
he's only 24.
Yeah. Yes. He had, you saw the potential he had. He was a fantastic race car driver. But Wood Brothers, they weren't the best team when he came in, especially with the dawn of the next gen car, and it just wasn't it didn't seem like it was a fantastic fit. I'm glad that he got the 100th win for the Wood Brothers, but it doesn't make you forget the last 3 years, though, right?
I would say that diecast that they're making, looking muy caliente for that 100th win. Yeah, I actually have that pre-ordered through the Wood Brothers, so I'm looking forward to getting that. There's like Coke all over the car. There's dirt. There's all kinds of good stuff.
Hey,
Coca-Cola.
Y'all want to know something?
I seen you laugh.
Y'all want to know something that was really weird? So, speaking of like the Wood Brothers winning, on Sunday, I got out of church and on my NASCAR app.
He texted me this.
Yeah, my NASCAR app. So I saw where like 5 to go, there was a caution, right? And
Shocker.
Right. And I was talking to some people. I came back, looked on the NASCAR app, said Josh Berry was in first and they had taken the checker flag. And I'm telling my wife, I'm like, babe, Josh Berry just won his first cup race. I was stoked, and I see this mess on Instagram about how Christopher Bell won on this caution rig, whatever. And I'm
boy.
like, you mean to tell me that Josh Berry didn't win this? They can't even get a last lap or an app right. I'm like, give me a break.
Cool your jets, boy. We'll get there. We'll get there.
We were talking about the Wood Brothers winning, so I had to say it.
Oh, boy. Then, of course, got to put my boy Matty D, P12, another great performance. Really good plate showing. I'll be very interested to see what he does coming this week. He's a decent road course racer, but not like superb. Like, we ain't talking like Zilich, SVG, Dinger kind of level. But he finishes races most of the time, unless it's the 2024 Roval,
or even when he was with Rackley. They could not bring a good truck to a road course. It was
yeah. All right. Did we even really have to watch this race, guys? Did we just knew Austin Hill was going to win this anyway? So,
we called it last week.
We knew how this was going down.
Yeah, Kenton didn't predict, that he got in the top 10 at Daytona and the top 10 of Atlanta correct, but I mean, he got the top 10 in Atlanta at least, right? So, I mean, just another guy that's a master class and way younger than Kyle Busch, and just showing that this prowess on plate tracks that you haven't seen since the legends Stewart, both Earnhardts, and you even have the statistic that backs it up. He's led the most laps at plate tracks in an Xfinity / Nationwide Busch whatever car, and has done it in less starts than the drivers that preceded him.
And you can't deny either. The guy has the fastest car on the track. I mean, it's not close. And I say this because being at the track, I would watch these runs that drivers would get and try to pass him. And it was like they were just scared to pull out a line. You could get a heck of a run going down the back straightaway, and I think, here they go. They're going to get back. Nope. They're going to stay tucked in line. There for a while, there were the two JRM guys just tucked up right behind them, and they would not even make an attempt there. And so there's something about his car that is so fast, because when they're coming to the white flag, Almirola's out in front by like a car length. And I'm like, Almirola's he's going to find a way to win this thing. And I kid you not, I had a post. We're sitting up high under the, overhang of the press boxes, right? There's a post that came down on my right, and it kind of blocked the dog leg from the start-finish line to turn one, right at a perfect angle. I could lean forward, I could see it. I could lean back, I could see it, but just where I was sitting. So I look, and as they cross the start-finish line, I'm like, Almirola could win this thing. Before they were in turn one, Austin Hill was not just in the lead, he was clear. And it just blew my mind. That was when I was like, his car's he hit a button. I don't know. Like, he had something that no one else had. And obviously it was an RCR engine. He had to have.
He's got that scramble button.
Well, Kent, you predicted that Austin Hill would sweep both races. You weren't far off, though, because RCR swept both races. Love won Daytona, and Hill won this past week. So RCR, I mean, they'll fall off because, I think Love will be more consistent than Hill, but they do well at plates, and then they kind of mediocre. I mean, Hill does good at road courses, depending on which one. But I love watching SVG beat him last year at Sonoma. That was hilarious. But
the burnouts were legendary.
The entire track. Oh my
God,
legendary.
Yeah.
SVG is more American than we give him credit for.
SVG's awesome. I got to hear him talk twice at Daytona, and he's very down to earth, and he sounds like, well, of course he sounds foreign, but he sounds like an American with just a foreigner's accent. I mean, honestly, he's turned into one of us. My question is, why can RCR bring so great cars that dominate in the Xfinity series, but in the Cup level, they have cars that can compete, but they're not even close to Ford?
Difference in the preparation of the vehicles. I mean, you've got these Cup cars that are essentially kit cars, and I know that the panels for these Xfinity cars and everything's kind of outsourced now, so it's a similar story. But I think there's a little bit more freedom, and I think it's more in the engines than anything else. I think it is more in that engine that RCR builds, but they've always had a history of having the best engines at these tracks. So, that's my take on it.
Austin says, I disagree with this statement.
I agree to the extent of that, but also I think, and I'm just being honest.
I know what it is.
Austin
Dillon slander. Here it comes.
No, it's RCR slander. But I'm taking my bias out of this. But you've got Kyle Busch, who is washed in Cup. I think he's washed in Cup. In this new car, I think he's washed. Keep him in the old gen, I think he still runs well. But I think in this car, he has no answer for it. And then you have Silverspoon, the original Silverspoon, who only has a ride because of his grandpa. But, I think if...
No, I'm just kidding.
But honestly, I think the answer is partly in the engines, but I think also it's partly in the drivers as well. I think Kyle Busch is really struggling in this new car. And that's evident because of the veterans who have been in the sport a long time. They're saying how hard it is to win and to do well consistently in this new car. And then you have Austin Dillon, who has the average finish of P50. So, it's just
the Dillon slander's real, guys.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I agree with you, Austin, to an extent. I mean, but I also
Wash
think
may be a hard term. Wash may
Yeah.
be a harsh
Yeah,
term,
I
but
think so too.
because you give Kyle Busch credit in 2023, which was obviously in the next gen car, he did have 3 wins,
He did.
and he almost won that Daytona 500 if a caution didn't come out. So he almost had 4
Yeah.
or 5 that year.
And he almost won one last year with he barely. If he would have wrecked Harrison
Atlanta.
Burton, he would have won.
Yeah, well,
But at Atlanta too. So
yeah,
too.
he was in that finish at Atlanta, and
he had a
he's.
chance- Go ahead.
You were saying about Darlington.
Yeah, Darlington, and I think he was leading at Kansas, but he just overdrove it. So I
Kyle
think,
Larson-esque.
yeah, you are right though. He is struggling to find his driving style in this next gen car, though, for sure.
yeah, I think he's been screwed over a lot too. I think he's been screwed over a lot. I think because of car failure. To Kent's point, you look at how many parts and failures and things that have gone wrong within the car itself. It's really screwed him over. And I have nothing against Kyle Busch. I don't. I like Kyle Busch.
We love Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch.
So, I don't enjoy seeing him struggle. Of course, it has been kind of funny hearing him whine about things that he did 20 years ago. But I think, he's struggling in this new car and just how a lot of things have not gone his way.
Well, I don't know if y'all remember, about 5 or 6 years before Gordon retired, he had 2007 first of all, so that 8 years or so before he retired. He rattled off about 7 wins that season under the old points format. In the Winston Cup, he would have won the championship. And then 2008, 9, and 10, those 3 years combined, do y'all know how many races he won?
Like 1 or 2.
One.
One would.
One race. Now in 2009 he did win a duel at Daytona, but other than that, it was the 2000. He went 08 and 09 without anything.
Yeah.
In 2010 he won at Texas, held off Jimmy Johnson. And then in 2011 he won 3 races and was back in the midst of it. And then by 2015 or 2014 he was winning 4 races. And then 2015, the year he retired, because of the blessed Matt Kenseth running the horrible Joey Logano into the wall. I'm convinced his brakes went out. I'm confident he was right. His brakes went out.
He was trying to pull the Christopher Bale. You know what I'm saying? It was
That's
just the car
right.
there.
Yeah, I think Joey's brakes definitely went out at Darlington a couple of years ago.
We're not. All
Austin
right,
Dillon's
anyways. So
I got him with that one.
We'll hug Austin Dillon's neck if I get the chance. But anyways, but all that to say, Gordon was able to come back and finish his career strong, right? We got to see a pretty cool, that moment there at Martinsville. So I think Kyle Busch is in for something like that. I don't think he's got a year left or 2. I think he's got 3 or 4 more, and I think it'll be great for the fans if 3 or 4 of those are winning seasons, including this season. I mean, 2 very unfortunate finishes so far, but I think he'll bounce back.
I mean, in all honesty, like, and I promise I'm saying this from a genuine NASCAR fan perspective, the 3 is holding that team back. Like, Kyle Busch is at least consistently in top 10s, and then you have the 3 who is only relevant at plate tracks, and, he had the asterisk win at Richmond. That's it. Other than that, I think Dillon's average finish was like P31 or P30 or something like that last year. I think he's for one, he's holding them back in owner's points, and 2, from a driver perspective, it's a driver who's not even remotely close to being in the playoff.
Why isn't Austin Hill full-time Cup yet?
Because they don't have a third car.
They don't have a third charter.
I think, and here's my thing. There's 2 ways to look at this, in my opinion. I think you put someone like Austin Hill, or you develop Jesse Love, right? You get him ready to go Cup racing and put him in it. Either one of those could take over the 3 and do that 3 more justice than Austin Hill has. But do y'all
Austin
think
Dillon,
that
right?
Austin Dillon,
Too many Austins.
There's way too many. Yeah. But do y'all think that the 3 is done with Austin Dillon? Are they keeping it in the Childress family and then just kind of like sail it off into the sunset, or what do y'all think?
I will say that this will be the last statement about this, and then we got to move on. So whoever wants to take this.
I have heard Richard Childress relate Austin Hill to Dale Sr., and it was after I believe it was after like 2023 at Atlanta or something like that.
Which one?
Summer, I think.
Okay.
I could see him keeping it for Austin Hill, but I mean, like I said, I've heard Childress make a lot of comments about Austin Hill reminds him a lot of Dale Sr. some.
Stats back it up.
I mean,
Literally.
he's obviously one of the greatest in the Xfinity. I mean, so I could see it.
Yeah. Talking about woes, Brandon Jones, guys. I mean, back-to-back weeks, terrible weeks. Just seems like is this his make or break year? I mean, honestly, I don't know how long his contract is for JGR, but would this be the year that's like, if he doesn't perform well to the standards of what JGR expects, is he done in the Xfinity series?
I mean, this is a guy who was at JGR, left for JRM, and now has found his rear end back at JGR.
He has a multi-year contract, so starting this year. So he'll be here past 2026.
Well,
he brings a lot of sponsorship too.
True. But I guess more of what my statement is this year, if he doesn't showcase how good he is, are they going to start planning to remove him as soon as his contract's over?
I think so.
The pipeline is going to be pretty full here pretty soon.
Exactly.
Well, and I disagree with me if you may, but I feel like JGR Xfinity could have had a much better lineup than what they do this year.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it's awful. So, yeah, if you're not performing in a year or two, like y'all said, that pipeline is big. So you better be producing results.
You could see a trade, possibly, kind of like how has happened with Corey LaJoie and Justin Haley. Now, that's a little bit of a different instance.
Yeah.
But it's a possibility that's on the table, which I can't really say, like Brandon Jones, man, like what's going on, because he seems like a great, honest dude. Everything I see about Brandon Jones seems to be like he's a great guy.
We saw him win.
Yeah, we seen him win at Martinsville in the 19 car, I think. Yes.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Hamlin has said that he's not going to be in the sport much longer. And if I'm Joe Gibbs, you got to have somebody that can fill the shoes of the 11. That's a big shoes to fill. Even though he's not won a championship, he is up there on the all-time wins list.
Oh, for sure.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer, without a
easily.
doubt. 3-time Daytona 500 champion. People can hate him all they want, but he's talented as heck. He's said on his podcast, especially after the Daytona 500, he's like, I can't do this much more. And so eventually he's going to retire. I'd say within the next 3 to 4 years, he might consider retiring. And who's going to take that spot? I don't see anybody right now in JGR that's worth taking that spot right now.
I would say the possibility would be like Corey Haim or somebody like that taking the ride, in all honesty.
But, I mean, and you hate for it to just come down to a money thing, but could Joe Gibbs be put in a position where he's like, man, I gotta put this car on the track. I gotta have someone that has sponsorship and bring Brandon Jones up with Menards.
You
It's
mentioned
very much a possibility.
You mentioned
100%.
Haim, Cole. I feel like he's more, because Bubba has stated himself that he feels like he's on the hot seat. If he doesn't win or perform well this year, he said he's not going to ride around just to collect a paycheck. He wants to win races. And so with Haim in that third development driver seat for 2311, you got to think he's in prime position to take that 23 if Bubba does not perform well.
Absolutely.
That brings the question, would you rather be part of 2311, which is very much an organization that is on the uprise, or would you want to be on the prestigious JGR, who's won multiple championships, have multiple Hall of Famers? That's a tough decision these days. Like for me, I'd have a hard time choosing.
I think, honestly, they're about equal now. I mean,
I think you got to go with the first one that gives you an opportunity.
yeah, for sure.
Which would be 2311, because, I mean, he's literally driving there.
When was the last JGR championship for
It was Busch, wasn't it?
Busch or Truex?
It was Busch 2018, 2019.
Because Truex won in the furniture row.
That was 2017.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's been 5+ years since Gibbs has won a title. So yeah, kind of on a cold streak.
And then you also got the 54 ride. I mean,
He ain't going nowhere.
he ain't going nowhere, but he's been struggling so far this year, which he's caught in a couple of messes and whatnot.
He's
One
a
little
good road racer.
He is. I will mention that Ryan Sieg had a absolutely not a bad day, but like a great starting finish, and then he kind of peeled off towards the back in an absolutely just devastated race car. So I did want to shout out Ryan Sieg being one of
That's a
those.
bad man.
Dude, Texas, what?
Yeah.
Sam Mayer. He's Rob Kligerman. He's Rob Sieg. Oh man, We're going to start calling Mayor the bank robber at this point.
You know, I've got a guy in my church who's distantly related to Sieg.
Huh.
So, you know, might have
That's
to
right.
pull
He is
some
from
strings
Georgia.
there.
So
That's right. That's right.
Of course, Matty D was partnered with them last year, so I mean, I have a soft spot for him in general. But just great. Seems like just a great family in general, and they just live racing. I mean, that's what they're doing, and they're doing it their own way. So I hate seeing their car tore up and then able to drive all the way back up to the front and then just get shuffled out towards the end. It was like, you know, Alex Bowman in Atlanta, you know. Anyways, we'll talk about the old Cup Series, guys. Man, the Cup Series, some
What a
juicy, what's some juicy stuff, guys. Some juicy stuff. All right, Hocevar, right? Let's talk about Carson Hocevar. I know it's mixed already because I talked to Austin before these other two got on here, and I'm just going to sit back and listen to you guys. I'm kind of interested to hear what you have to say. I know what Austin's got to say. So I think I'm going to throw it to Kent first. I can see Kent brewing. I know he didn't watch the Cup race all the way through, but
if you've been on social media, you've
I've
seen
seen some things.
it's just some things,
Same thing.
some bad things.
Saw some things. So, I mean, we all know the reputation Hocevar had before he came to the Cup Series. And I think he proved a lot of us wrong last year, right? Like last year, he stayed quiet.
Super duper clean last year.
Super clean. And
like rubber ducky clean. You know what I'm saying?
Here's what I wonder. You get into a competitive atmosphere, right? And you haven't had any success in a while. And, you know, and I say success, here's a guy who's used to winning at some level, right? Like he's used to victory lane, he's used to checkered flags, he's used to that. Since he's come to the Cup Series, that itch to win doesn't go away. It's not just like, oh, it's gonna be harder now, so I'm just gonna be okay with winning less. No, I mean that doesn't happen. You still want to win. And I think he found himself in an opportunity and in several opportunities to kind of elbow his way to the front, be in position to win a race. And he made some stupid mistakes. I mean, you ever just get in a situation where all you see is red? And it's like he was looking forward to the trophy in victory lane and failed to see every single other car on the track in front of him. And I hate that for him. I hate that he took so many steps back. I mean, last year he took a giant leap forward, right? And he just took 2 giant steps backwards. He's going to have a lot of trust to earn. But, you know, I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I was kind of hoping he was going to end up winning, if that says anything. I want to see the guy win. I think we need more of that in the sport. But it also shows how important it was to win at this level.
And I'll say, no, I'm right there with you. I mean, I want to see him win. And I'll be honest, I used to be a Hocevar hater. I'll be the first to admit I used to hate the guy. Thought he was a con. I mean, just thought he was awful. But
he was a hack.
Yeah, he was
a sham.
Yeah.
A slam dig.
Yeah.
It's right.
Yeah.
A bulldozer.
Yeah, for real. But what actually started to get me kind of thinking like, okay, maybe this guy doesn't like is when I met him at Talladega when we went. He was a
super nice guy.
Cole and I saw him with our buddy Daniel at the Martinsville race last year. I mean, he's just cutting up with the fans. I mean, having a great time and answering the stupidest questions, but being funny back. Has a lot of potential to be a fan favorite. And I get it. I mean, like he said that he had no idea if they were racing back to the line or not, so he was going to do what he could to win. I get it. But like you said, Kent, I mean, that what you do, especially early in the season, a lot of guys are going to remember that. And especially if he's on that bubble for the playoffs, it's going to get even tougher for him.
I mean, coming that close to winning, I mean, that's tough. And that kind of, we'll talk about, you know, the caution and everything. But Austin, I mean, let's hear it, buddy. I can hear you brewing.
I think it's good for the sport. I mean, I think we need more guys like Hocevar that aren't afraid to ruffle feathers. I mean, it cracked me up when in his post-race interview, he said he was talking about what did Chastain have to say to you? He was like, oh, he was just asking about the Chili's Big 3 special. And I laughing.
What a throw.
I was like, that's hilarious. And I was like, we need more of that. And he admitted, he's like, yeah, I was probably pretty aggressive. And, he spun Blaney going into turn 1. To be fair, Blaney was almost on the apron already.
True. He was blocking a little bit.
He was blocking a little bit.
Just like Logano level block.
But Hocevar didn't square him up with his block. He hit him in the right rear, and there he goes. But you got to think of it this way, too. it's the first time this kid, he's a kid. It's the first time this kid has ever been put in a spot like that. It's the first time he's ever been running top 5 with 10 to go with a chance to win a race. And he made moves. They may not have been the right moves, but he was trying to win a race. And, everybody says, the GOAT in a lot of people's eyes and one of the best to ever do it in a lot of people's eyes.
Senior.
His nickname was the Intimidator, and you don't get that nickname from being nice on the racetrack. So, Hocevar was right. He said, we're not out here to have picnics. We're not here to be best friends and buddies. We're here to race and to win races. And so I think if he keeps the mentality, it's going to be good for the sport. We need more of that. So I don't really think, he probably was a little too aggressive with Blaney, but I think for the most part, I think he didn't do a whole lot wrong. He raced Chastain pretty hard, bumped Blaney too hard, take those mistakes, and you come back to the next plate track, learn from it. So that's my take.
I feel like that's fair. I did find it kind of funny that Ross is the guy that actually went up and talked to him for a long time. Like, it was a long conversation. It wasn't just like, hey, man, you screwed up, do better. It was like so it almost felt like maybe Ross was like, hey, I know what it was to be like in the shoes of someone that's getting, criticized for how hard he's driving or whatnot. And he's just maybe trying to share what is essentially like what's calmed him down over the years. I don't know. But I did find it very interesting that was the guy that was the first one to Hocevar, like immediately. And there's been some criticism that Ross is kind of chilled out over the last little bit. He's not as aggressive as he used to be. And a lot of people said it's because maybe a certain somebody was trying to pull some funding away from him. I don't know. I'm not part of the back scenes, behind the curtain of NASCAR. We're just 4 dudes sitting talking about NASCAR because we love it, and that's the only reason. And that's about it. So I found it very interesting, and I don't know what else you can say. I think Hocevar was a little bit overly aggressive. I think we can all agree to that. Some of it was outrageous, just a little bit, but he also wanted to make sure that he was putting in as much effort as he could win that first win. Because think about what that one win would have done for Spire Motorsports.
Oh, my gosh.
And think about it, too. You're 22 years old, and I don't know what you win if you finish first. $200,000, $150,000. I mean, you're taking home a nice paycheck, too, for 22 years old.
He probably could ride the Dente a couple times after.
Ride the Dente, yeah.
I mean, I feel like to a level it was egregious, but also it was good to see. I was very much the guy that was watching the race, and I'm like, man, Hocevar is going to have everybody pissed up at him at the end of the race, and at the end of the race, everybody was pissed off at him.
There's like, a line to get to him.
Yeah, like, what a shocker. But I feel like he's young. He's going to take lessons, and I'm not going to say Hocevar is going to be the next villain of the sport, the next Kyle Busch villain, but it is good to have a driver that's got a little animosity going between all of them. So, anyways, let's talk about Ryan Blaney, guys. Of course, we talked about him being spun, right, with 10 laps. 10 laps. He went from 25th in the back. I would like to mention that there was over 16 cars on the lead lap. Just so you guys know.
Hey, BJ almost had a top 20.
Almost.
He
drove from, I still can't believe this, 25th to 4th in 10 laps. I'm not even sure if the race ended under green. I'm not even sure he wouldn't have made it 4 wide and passed them all for the win. I mean, honestly, because that man was booking it.
It shows to our tire expert, Mr. Blake over here, the effect that fresh tires has on that draft. He didn't need the draft. His tires were so fresh.
He was the draft.
Yeah.
He was speed.
I am speed.
And honestly, too, they brought a relatively kind of hard tire to that track, but the track has worn out so beautifully that, I mean, even with a hard tire, tires still matter. And kudos to Marcus Smith for doing a great repave.
By the way, I'm rewatching the race. I've got it on. I've been glancing at it. Chase Elliott just wrecked. But this is awesome. The racing looks just like what I think we all wanted to see at Daytona and Talladega. Yeah. The cars, they're able to run 2 wide, 3 wide, but also the best handling cars. They gravitate to the front. If you're good, you can control the race. You can kind of control your outcome I mean, sure, a little bit of luck's going to be involved, but that's the way it's been ever since the restrictor plate was introduced. And so this is good stuff, and I really am looking forward to the Atlanta race this summer. When I get
the
to
last stage. The last stage was amazing racing. Amazing racing. Some of the best I've seen at Atlanta. Like, it was phenomenal.
If we can make Daytona and Talladega look like that, you won't hear a problem out of this next-gen car on the super speedways.
As SVG would say, it was epic. He says epic a lot.
Mate,
what were you going to say, Kent?
That was epic, mate.
Epic, mate.
All right, epic, eh?
My gosh. So let's talk about the finish.
What finish?
And better health, $3.99.
Inconsistency strikes again. I mean, you have the 500 that ends under green, and then you have this race end under yellow, and then you had the Xfinity Series race as well. It's just a mess, guys. I kind of get it, because after seeing Barry's car, who did not finish in P1, much to Blake's disappointment on the NASCAR app,
It's a
that
dang
car
shame.
was destroyed. I don't know if you guys seen any. I mean, they showed some video of it, I believe, on the broadcast. That car was rough. You know what I'm saying? It was a mess. So, what do you feel about the finish here, guys?
I think they made the right call. I mean, I think you had to make that call. Seeing how bad that wreck was, I think you have to make it. It's not the popular call. Everybody wants to see him race back to the finish, but you are on a considerably smaller track compared to Daytona and Talladega. You're on a mile and a half. It's going to take a lot less time for those drivers to get to that back stretch. I think it was the right call. I wish they would have been consistent with the call during the Xfinity race, because in the Xfinity race, it didn't matter whether they threw the flag or not. Kyle Busch was going to be the winner of that race.
Me and Austin Hill for the Xfinity race?
Yeah, sorry. Truck race is what I was thinking of, but yeah.
Kyle Busch probably would have won the Xfinity race too if he was racing.
You know, NASCAR wouldn't have been in this position if they just would have thrown the caution at Daytona in the 500. If they would have thrown the caution in the 500, when they were going into 30, clash. If they would have thrown it,
or not clash, the duel. Sorry.
If they would have thrown it,
duel number 3.
Anyways, but if they would have thrown it, I mean, it would have not affected a single bit of the outcome of the Daytona 500, and fans would have come away going, well, you know, that's what they did last week. Yeah, yes, I guess it makes sense. No, I agree. I mean, you got to get the safety vehicles out there as fast as possible to check on those drivers, and it's a much smaller track. It's a different animal. NASCAR's in a lose-lose there. But at the same time, I mean, if they just would have thrown it at Daytona, and they knew no one was going to catch William Byron, it just wasn't going to happen. He had flames on the side of his car, and it was number 24.
Reddick, please catch up to him.
The only way someone could have possibly caught William Byron was if the 22 was there to put him in the fence. But he was already out of the race. So, yeah.
It's just, you see just Logano come over the track.
It's kind of like
a spaceship.
Not in my house.
Like them Ross memes from about 2 years ago.
One part everywhere.
Yeah.
Hunting on Chase Elliott.
It's like, Ross, no.
You have a picture of Chase Elliott's skin. There's Ross in the background.
I agree with you guys, though. I think that it's very much not where the call was a bad call. I mean, it was terrible for the race ending. I mean, in all honesty, it was the right call, but it was not the right call for racing. You know what I'm saying? But it was the right call for safety. But to be inconsistent, that's my main gripe with NASCAR once again.
Yeah. And I feel like, too, I mean, what sucks for NASCAR is it's situational, right? Because, like, if they're coming out of a wreck of turn 4 at Daytona, usually you probably shouldn't throw the caution because you can get to them in time, right? But if it's turn 2 backstretch of Atlanta, like, yeah, you got to get the safety truck out there. You know, even shorter tracks, I get it. You got to throw the caution. But it sucks for them because, like, as somebody who really, really loves the sport, I hate to see them take all this criticism that could prevent fans from coming in. Because instead of fans saying, hey, guess what? We just saw this awesome finish. You should come watch. We have to talk about this, right?
Yep, exactly. We're distracting from the quality of the product.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is like, don't stunt the growth, the potential that you could have.
I completely agree. But, you know, the crazy storyline that comes out of all this for me is, of course, you have Hocevar, who's in that 3 wide, essentially pushing himself in the middle of all that, being super aggressive. But the car that was competing, one of the cars that was competing for the win, was the number 5 of Kyle Larson, who also won a stage. He won stage 2.
My wife was very disappointed.
As a Larson fan, I couldn't believe he won a stage. I was like, finally.
That's what my wife said. She was like,
Yeah.
he won a stage. He doesn't usually do good at tracks like this.
Man, I was stoked when she said she was going to be a Larson fan. I'm like, man, you picked a good
She's
one.
going to pull for one of my 15 drivers. Let's go.
I'm going to be able to relate to Anna more.
As long as she picks one of these 15, we'll be
Yeah.
okay. Oh man,
Boy, I mean, like I said before, I'm not even sure if Blaney might have won that race, to be honest, because he was booking it. I would say he's probably throwing it 4 wide and just trying not to hit the apron. But if it turned out to be just the 3 cars for the finish, I would imagine that Larson would had the best lane. I know the top was really good for Austin Hill and Kyle Busch, but I don't know. It just the way they look like when they were coming off the exit, especially with Hocevar getting in the middle. And I mean, he's essentially side drafting both cars at the same time being there.
Well, if you think about it too, Suarez won on the third top lane last year too. So who knows, man? It would have been interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, this might have been Larson's super speedway win to put on his career, where people can't be like, hey, you're an amazing driver. You do everything. You've won championships. You've won many races, but hey, you haven't won a super speedway race yet.
Hey, in his defense, he has won one in Xfinity.
True. He won. We were at that race.
We were. I think they screwed over Elliott Sadler, but he got the win.
No, it was Justin Haley, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yep. Because that was going to be Justin Haley's first win. And then Justin Haley got the ultimate revenge when he won a rain-out race.
Yeah.
Man.
Great times, man.
Comical almost in a way. But that's Atlanta. That's our recap at Atlanta. Overall weekend, fantastic racing at the truck level, Xfinity level, Cup level, third stage was just majestic. And the broadcasting team on the third stage at the Cup level, I will give them props. They were absolutely on it.
And I'll say, too, I had to listen to a little bit of the radio broadcast, and I just want to give a quick shout-out to the PRN guys and the MRN guys. You know, PRNs with SMI, MRNs with NASCAR, but these guys do such a good job. I mean, they could, when you
they paint a picture. Like, they just paint a picture for you while you're listening.
They make the boring races sound fun, and they make the fun races sound like the best thing you're ever going to hear.
I did want to add one thing to Atlanta. Michael McDowell came back from 7 laps down and finished P13. 7 laps down, came back, finished on the lead lap. Sorry, Blake. Then finished in P13. You know, shout out to McDowell for not giving up and actually coming away with a half-decent finish.
He's been really impressive so far this year. I mean, Noah G's been pretty good too. I mean, my prediction so far, Noah G's been looking pretty good at those super speedways, but it's really going to show here this week. I'll see what Noah G does compared to Michael McDowell, because McDowell's fairly been really good at road course races. I mean, he's not one that you would necessarily pick all the time, but he's the Indy, wasn't it?
Yeah, Indy road course,
which was a very prestigious road course win put on a resume. So. But speaking of road course races, what a wonderful transition. Why don't I get paid for this?
Man, you get paid the big bucks for just stuff like that.
No trucks this week, man. Like, no trucks at COTA.
No trucks at Phoenix.
I would pay money to see trucks at COTA. I'm not even going to lie to you guys.
They used to do it, and it was pretty fun.
Yep. Had a guy one year who lost 2 tires. Lost the front axle of his car.
Marco? Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
That was last year, I think.
Yep, it was.
Yeah.
Man, oh, man. Oh, are the trucks running at Phoenix this weekend? Okay, that's what I thought.
They don't run till Vegas.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because I didn't put them on my thing, and I was like, when you said that, I was like, oh, no, did I mislook something? So I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad that I have a pea-sized brain that's able to comprehend a little bit of information. Xfinity. Tons of headline guys coming into this race.
This is a stacked race.
You got Mr. Ross Chastain in that number 9 car for JRM making his first, which is weird because you would expect them to be like, hey, SVG, come in here and drive this 9 car for a road course race. But they're like, you know what? We're going to give the old mantle to Ross Chastain. So
where he got his first Cup win.
So Number 14, Carson Hocevar coming in to drive for SS Greenlight Racing this weekend in the Xfinity Series. So, I mean, after last week, it's going to be very much of a guy to watch, especially on a road course race where there's a little bit of beating and banging involved when it comes to going into those corners sometimes. Got Riley Herbst, number 19 car. That's one to watch out for, in my opinion. But the one that really stands out to me, guys, is that 24 for Corey Heim for the Xfinity Series. That's for Sam Hunt Racing. So what do you guys think about that? That was kind of a shocker to me at first when I seen it, and I was like, that's pretty spicy. I like that.
Well, I think it goes back to trying to get him as much experience before he gets to Cup, right? Because it kind of goes back to our conversation about the pipeline and some potential availability seats coming up. I mean, why not? I mean, why would you overlook Corey Heim? I mean, he's got to be the top prospect in Toyota.
Yeah. I would say top 2, top 3 in Cup, or for Cup in general. I don't see anybody from the 2 series other than Austin Hill, but Austin Hill is very limited with his plate track experience. You're going to win a couple races of plate tracks, kind of like how SVG, but he's shown a little bit at the oval potential, but not as much as Corey Heim. Corey Heim has performed high in all kinds of racetracks on the truck level. So,
hey, Cole, won't you try pronouncing the 35 driver's name?
I still got to get Mr. Willie B. How can you forget Willie B in the number 17? Yeah. I mean, I think just because you miss Willie B, you should pronounce that guy's name. Get Frank.
Leo.
This looks like a name from the book of Daniel almost. Baltazar. Leguizamon.
Lesqueezemon, he said.
Like, there might be a fiery furnace near this dude or something.
I believe it's pronounced Baltazar Leguizamon.
Yeah. Oh.
For Joey Gase Racing, that number 35. Of course, Willie B being in that 17 for Hendrick, that's kind of a car that you'll see multiple times. You've seen Chase Elliott win in the 17 car last year, and also seen Kyle Larson win a road course race with that 17 car at Watkins Glen. So that will be a car to watch out for in the Xfinity Series. So I'm looking forward to Xfinity Series this go around. And then Cup, there's one driver that's usually not on the schedule. Just one. There's no BJ McLeod. There ain't nobody like that. There's just one driver who's driving the 87 and will be sponsored by Red Bull.
It gives you wings.
Hopefully it gives him wins this year. Connor Zilic.
Preview to the spicy takes.
I don't know. That's probably yours. I know how much you love your Connor Zilic. So, all right, 4 wide segment. Boom, Austin, tell us all about COTA, baby.
Man, I got a lot to talk about for various reasons, but just as some background, the Circuit of the Americas is usually a 3.4 mile long circuit with 20 turns, and what sets it apart from all other road courses in the United States is the elevation change of 133 feet. As soon as you cross the finish line, you are going uphill to 133-foot elevation. It was created in 2012 for Formula One at that particular time. The Circuit of Americas has the iconic Turn 1, which is named as Big Red. Is also a dive bomb corner. This is a world-class facility. It holds the most prestigious racing events in the world. Formula One's race there, MotoGP's race there, IndyCar's race there, NASCAR started racing there. So the past few years, NASCAR has been racing on the full 3.4 mile circuit, and they have since 2021. But this year, NASCAR has made a change. They are changing from racing on the full 3.4 mile circuit to the 2.3 mile national circuit. So instead of Circuit of the Americas, it's now just going to be the Circuit of America.
This is a Donald Trump take right here, if I've ever seen it.
So just to give you an example, I have a photo of what the change will look like. So up here at the top, you can see this is the normal format, 20 turns, and it's full glory. Formula One probably takes a minute and a half to run this. Cup takes about 2 minutes and 10 seconds. Down here at the bottom is what they will be racing on this coming weekend. So they'll go down finish line, go up the hill to the dive bomb corner, go in through the S's, and then as they're exiting the X's in turn 6, they'll take a hard left, and then they'll enter at the end of the long passing zone going into turn 12. So what they're expecting is for the lap times to be cut down by about a minute. NASCAR believes that by cutting out turns 7 through 11, that they will reduce lap times by about a minute. They're expecting it to be around a minute and 12 seconds. One of the benefits to this is shorter length of caution laps. It's going to take them less time to get around the track. Also, there will be an increase in laps. Running the full circuit version was a 68-lap race. I believe it's around 100 this year for the race. Interesting fun fact, on the bottom circuit here, Shane Van Gisbergen has experience on this. Back in 2013, he raced, and I think he finished top 5 in the Australian Supercar Series back in 2013. So I question this change. Reason being is it gets rid of 2 of the biggest passing zones on the track. If you're still looking at the screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, this long straight, that's a passing zone. And you have another passing zone right here in turn 15. That's going to be harder to do because you don't have the momentum building up from turn 11. And so the passing zones are going to be more limited. It gets rid of this hairpin turn that you could dive bomb going into that, and it's going to also ruin any momentum you're trying to get going into turn 12 for a pass as well. Now, NASCAR says they're hoping that the changes will bring about more overtaking and passing, and also will allow for more aggressive driving styles. But I don't get that. When you get rid of the biggest passing zones in the track, I don't feel like this will be an interesting race. I don't, because of that. By getting rid of this massive passing zone, you've eliminated the best part of the track. Now, people argue that because this will be much, much shorter, that there will be increased lap traffic due to it being a shorter circuit, which should help with passing. However, I feel like the stages are going to ruin that. I feel like having these short stages for the race, it's going to ruin this hope. Now, the only way that you're really going to be able to pass anybody is if you dive bomb down here in turn 1. That's the only way. You're going to have to go straight up the hill, get a run, and dive bomb in turn 1. That's really one of your few hopes for getting a pass on this track. The benefit will be for the fans that are watching in person, because they will get to see much more of the race. They will get to see most of the race, depending on where they sit, and they'll get more laps, which means more views of the cars going by. Now, personally, I'm not excited for this layout. I think in person, it'll be all right, but I think it'll be horrible on TV. But I have 2 solutions, and I would really like your guys' input on these. I have 2 possible solutions for how we can fix COTA. First, you run the normal 3.4 mile track circuit, but on caution laps, you do the shortened version to speed things up and speed up full course cautions. For the rest of the race, they race the entirety of the track. You get the passing zones and all that. Here's my second solution. Get rid of 3-stage race and make it a 2-stage race. So similar to how F1 has sprint weekends scattered throughout the year. They have a sprint weekend where it's a short race. It's about half the length of the normal race, and the drivers race for points in those races. Translate it to NASCAR, run 2 stages, have the first stage be 25 laps, the 25-lap stage. Everybody gets an idea of how their car is going to perform. Everybody gets an idea of what adjustments they need to make. And then you award higher points for that stage. And then let them race the rest of the race out at 75 laps. And may the best man win. I don't know. What do you guys think? I feel like there's a problem with how we're running COTA right now.
I don't necessarily mind doing that 3.14 course, but on the caution laps, letting them go like what you said about letting them cut in.
the smaller
Yes,
course,
yeah,
essentially.
doing the smaller course. I do see what you're saying about the you're taking away a lot of good passing zones. So I am scared to see what this race is going to look like. I do have some good news. Is it too soon to get into my segment or?
Well, I just
Yeah.
wanted to say, I mean, I think going into this weekend, track position is going to be everything.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be hard to pass. I think it's going to be a lot of train racing, and I think only 4 drivers are going to do well and be able to pass through the race. The rest, I mean, it's going to be dive bomb city in turn 1. Like that first lap going into turn 1, that is going to be mass chaos.
Yeah.
Going into turn 1. That's all I got to say. But yeah, go ahead and hit us up with your tire notes.
Hang on. Wait,
Okay.
We'll let Kent
Kent.
Okay.
respond if he wants to. You good, Kent? I just want to give you a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I think y'all hit the nail on the head. It's really like you're taking away a couple more of those really dive bomb turns, right? And so I don't know. I also wonder if they're not going to be, willing to kind of throw elbows like they did at Bowman Gray, and so it might lead to a much more physical, much more exciting race. I don't know. We'll see.
Hocevar's in the field, so we'll see what happens.
This should be
All
the
right.
go bowling, whatever, at the
For real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
All
they
right.
sponsor the Glen, so it works there too.
Yeah.
Boy. All right, Blake. I'm ready to hear this great news that probably is revolving around tire wear.
Yeah. So I share a lot of the same concerns with Austin. The good news is they are trying a different tire this week. It's a completely new tire that they are bringing. It's an 18-inch B diameter tire, but compared to the tire they ran at COTA last year, there's more compound and more construction, which basically means that there's going to be more tire wear and a lot more projected lap time fall off. So that could help with your comers and goers, your passing. If somebody gets out front and is just booking it and not really saving their stuff, but then maybe your second and third place guys trying to lay low a little bit, they can eventually leapfrog them. So that could be a remedy to the new course. We'll see, right? Because it's new course, new tire, a lot of unknowns. And I looked at the forecast, but I'm not sure that this is going to be in play this week. But just a reminder to our folks who are listening to us that when we go to road courses, there is a wet weather tire option if it is raining, if it's damp. So you never know how that can play into a race, especially if everybody starts out with the wet weather tires and then there's a lot of strategy on when you put the slicks on. Doesn't look like that's going to be a factor this weekend from what I saw.
78 and clear.
78 clear. Okay. But that's just a little tidbit of information for short tracks and road courses just later on down the road. But maybe with more tire wear and more lap time fall off, we'll see some good battles potentially, hopefully. Now, last year the fall off and the tire wear wasn't great at COTA, so to say that there's going to be a little bit more, it could still suck. We don't know. So we'll see. We'll see.
I will applaud NASCAR for trying to make changes because
yeah.
they know that this is not a very popular track in regards to viewership, watching. I don't know about ticket sales. Most road course races usually do sell out. I don't know about COTA in general.
I don't think this place can sell out.
Fair enough.
Just because of how big it is, right?
Yeah.
Sells out during F1 and MotoGP weekend.
Well,
That's a bigger base too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, people come for. How many people are usually there for F1 weekend?
Let me look.
A lot.
Because I'd say the NASCAR crowd's no more than half.
Like maybe a fourth,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably more like it.
Across 3 days, 430,000 people.
Yeah, that ain't.
That ain't too many, right? That's like at my barbecue. You know what I'm talking about?
So I'd say if there's probably 80, if I had to throw a wild guess, probably 80,000 people based on the last couple of years. Yeah.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Like I said, I applaud NASCAR, and there's a history of good racing at this track, of course, with, like Austin said, F1 and whatnot. But even in the NASCAR circuit, there's been some really good, decent races at COTA. Maybe not at the Cup level, but there's been some good Xfinity races I know of that's been raced at COTA. So
I feel like NASCAR should partner with IMSA or Indy or some sort of other racing to help bring more attention to NASCAR side of things, especially in these newer
Markets
newer
and stuff.
markets, I feel like that'd be a wise thing to do. I mean, it's good for the sport. NASCAR will never do it, but it's just it's like when they race at Indy. There's just so many seats to fill. Even though if 100,000 people show up to the race, that place is still going to look empty.
Yeah. Yep.
Because it holds 200.
This would be a great track too for your this new open exemption or whatever world class driver to come. Yeah, I mean, if Trackhouse or whoever could get a F1 guy here, I mean, now look, I'm clueless on F1, so I don't even know when their season starts. But like, if you could get a F1 guy to come to a track that was made for F1, it would help.
The problem is the season hasn't started yet, but they're testing this week in the Middle East. So, yeah. But you could get a retired driver. I mean, they do that. I mean, you could get Danny Ricciardo's retired. Get him in. I mean, I'm sure he would love to run stock.
Well, it's like Kimi Räikkönen. Yeah.
So what you're telling me, Blake, is there's wet tires available, correct?
Yeah.
At this racetrack. So do you need me to contract out like a water truck that just randomly appears at COTA? And you just have weird instructions, just wet everything.
If you got if you got some connections, I would recommend it.
I know some water truck guys.
Okay. Yeah.
Probably not in Texas. Oh boy, I'm kidding. Don't sue me, NASCAR. I did nothing.
They
I
can
promise.
get some of that Gulf of America water.
Oh my gosh.
It was me.
All right, Kent, we're going to throw it to you. Do you have anything to talk about with COTA? I know, like I said, it's kind of got like a rich history in regards to motorsports in general, but what do you feel about it in NASCAR predominantly?
Yeah, obviously there's not a whole lot to pull from, right? So 2021 was the first season that NASCAR went there, and the first race wasn't even able to be run to completion. So
it was entertaining, though.
It was very entertaining.
Like Bristol Tire.
It had everything, fire and water. I mean, it was crazy. So, I think it's going to be a relatively tame race based off of what we've seen. Obviously, weather would be a game changer, but like you were saying, that it didn't look like there's really a threat of that this weekend. So what I am actually looking at right here are average finishes in the next gen era. So essentially, you just take that 2021 race, you get rid of those results, you just focus on 2022 and all. And I'm looking at some of the road course ringers, right? Because I'm like, all right, these guys have to circulate towards the top here, you would think anyways, right? So one that we would automatically think of, right? SVG. He finished 20th here last year. That's really the only one that we've got, the only sample size. And I believe that he got into some trouble that wasn't even his fault. So I don't, you really can't really fault him for that. AJ Allmendinger, 33rd, 34th, 6th. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, 33rd, he was leading on the last lap and got
Chastained.
Punted, got chastained. And so that he's got the 26th of the active drivers in the field that have raced there. He's got the 20th best average finishing position. But you just imagine what a first place would have done right there for it. But, just kind of looking through here and looking at where some of these other guys have finished, the top three, honestly, 2 of them could surprise you. I'm just going to let y'all guess. Who do y'all think the top 3 average finishers at COTA in the next gen era are?
I know Austin knows one of them.
I'd say Alex Baldwin's probably up there.
He's number 1. Average finish of 3. He's finished 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Interesting.
Can y'all guess the other 2? One of the next 2 you're going to probably guess.
Maybe William Byron?
He's actually tied for 4th on this list.
Okay.
Denny Hamlin.
No, he's 12th. Tyler Reddick is
Chastain.
2nd. So he's finished 5th, 1st, and 5th. Chastain is 3rd, 1st, 4th, and 7th. Guys that, I don't think people realize how good Alex Bowman is at the road courses. It's so easy and so many people do this, and they've called his win at the Chicago Street Course a fluke. And I'm like, no, he just always runs up front in these races. He just always does. And, when you gravitate towards the top of these races, then you're just naturally going to win 1 or 2. And so, I'm excited to see, Ty Gibbs and William Byron are both tied for 4th. Gibbs has a 9th and a 3rd. Byron has a 12th, 5th, and 1st. And then, it's going to be interesting. I think that COTA is going to be a track, and maybe the changing configuration will change some of this, but you're going to see some guys kind of near the front running some really solid, clean races that you wouldn't just look at them and go, there's a road course racer. So I think, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I love looking at, these average finishes. I could just look at these numbers and put together different theories and guesses. You got Kyle Busch, right, who's 10th in the average finishes. He's got a 28th and then a 2nd and a 9th. And so you wonder, all right, who's progressing in the right direction? Christopher Bell has a 3rd, a 31st, and a 2nd. And so, as we get more data from these tracks, as we see different drivers begin to kind of dominate, it's going to be fun kind of seeing who, kind of adopts this track as, hey, look, I'm always going to run well at this place. And right now, he doesn't have a win there yet, but it's hard to argue that Alex Bowman's going to be in the running for a top 5 finish. So, anyways, so that's kind of what I've got. I was just looking at some average finishes and just kind of looking forward to, how that might play out on Sunday. And the other thing I think you have to acknowledge and look at is so many of these drivers do have that one fluke bad finish. So who's going to be that guy that you would expect to be in the top 5, top 10 that gets taken out early and ends up, with that 27th, 32nd finish?
One's a game changer. You get knocked out of turn 1, your whole race could be screwed.
Another wild card.
I'll take any Alex Bowman praise I can get on this podcast.
There you go.
It's a rarity, boy. All right, so for my 4 wide segment, honestly, guys, I've never been to COTA, so I can't tell you in regards to the fan experiences at the track. I looked up some stuff. They have a really nice fan zone, as most NASCAR tracks do. I feel like if you're going to a road course race, I would definitely suggest going camping there. It just seems like all the road course races have fantastic campgrounds. Walking to the Glen. The Glen has fantastic. It's like Talladega vibes from what I understand from a lot of people. Some people even say it's even more crazier in the Talladega, which that's wild if that's the truth. So, that's I've told Blake already. I said, he's probably going to be my best man if I ever find someone that feels sorry enough to marry me.
She's going to marry you for your positivity. That's for sure.
That's right. I am nothing but positive. Let me tell you.
Podcast. She'll marry you for the podcast.
Gosh, yeah.
All that money you make.
Yeah, my 1 pesos I make per I don't know. I would say a semester, but that's school. Anyways, it's a fantastic track in regards to fan experience. So if you're in the area, please go to COTA. Like, help NASCAR out by showing out to COTA if you can, because, if you're not willing to support this track's probably going to be taken off of the schedule here in the next year or two, especially with Rockingham and places like that looming. Get a cup race, this is probably going to be the ones that's on the docket to get chopped.
I know how they could fix it.
Let's hear it.
They just need to take the little Hot Wheels thing they have and
like the loop-de-loop?
Yeah, just let them go down that.
A 2-wide loop-de-loop. Sure. The race last year with Byron winning, it wasn't a fantastic race by any means, but it's not the worst race I've ever seen at a road course. But it did lack that excitement, especially towards the end of the race, because Byron cleared out, if I remember right. He was who was the person that was even closest to him last year?
The flag guy, the
flag stand.
I think Bell was kind of running him down there at the end.
Yeah, Bell's really good at road courses too. Roval looked fantastic last year. COTA, he looked good. Watkins Glen, did he get caught in some mess or something last year? I can't remember.
I don't know. I can't remember.
That's fine. Yeah. It's okay. But anyways, guys, if you like the track and you want to support the track, please show up to the track. This is like the Homestead Miami thing, right? People are like, I love Homestead. It's a beautiful track. There's always good racing there, but they never put their butts in the seats. And if they want a championship race at Homestead, when Phoenix is selling out, why would they ever swap it? If you guys show up to the track, and this isn't me just talking to like our one listener here, but like me, like trained even to us, like sitting here, Ecuador.
Our Ecuador
Viva
listeners,
Ecuador!
They're going to shout Dakota.
Boy, now we need some Tegucigalpa listeners, and we'll be killing it.
Where's that
Tegucigalpa?
Honduras?
Yeah, it's the capital of Honduras.
Okay.
Yeah, my biology teacher used to just say Tegucigalpa all the time, and we were like, "Why do you say it?" He's like, "Oh, it's just the capital of Honduras." I remember learning it in school, and I never forgot it. I'm like, well, that's kind of a weird thing for a biology teacher to remember, but hey, he's a pretty cool guy. Shout out to Mr. Bodner. What a man. But yeah, I mean, that's essentially put your butts in the seats if you don't want the track to go away. That's my fan experience segment for you this week. So, anyways, guys, spicy takes from Atlanta. We didn't get a freaking one right. Once again, we suck. We're terrible. Why do people listen to us? Like, why?
Well, the good quality outside the spicy takes.
Fair point. And just for that,
That's
you
right.
get your first spicy take. You're hitting off the segment.
Zillett COTA, Connor Zillett in the cup race will get a top 10.
It's not terrible.
No. Do you want me to go top 5?
No, I mean,
Okay.
that's
All right.
whatever you want to do.
Nah.
It's your spicy.
We'll go top 10.
Austin's like sitting there like sassing, but we can't hear him because he's muted.
Hey, you have to call me out like that.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, Mr. Sassy, let's hear your spicy take.
Sassafras.
In the cup race, there would not be a full course caution.
You're just gonna let them fly, let the green fly, and just let them go at it. Huh?
Well, aside from stages.
Okay.
But aside from stages, I don't think there will be a full course caution.
Obviously, I mean,
There wasn't last year.
it's true. I hope there is at least one. That would really spice up our love life for COTA.
With
Oh,
about
man.
2 to go.
Let Hocevar, Adam.
On the white flag specifically, when they're coming into the last turn and there's someone that's wrecked on turn 6 or something,
Oh, yeah.
just throw that caution for me.
Oh, yeah.
I really appreciate it, NASCAR.
Get a Dale Jr. caution.
I'm so salty. Oh my god. At least they'll keep it consistent. Alrighty, Kent, what's your spicy take for this week?
Man, I'm gonna say that Kyle Busch proves that he is not washed.
Cowboys!
I'll say- I'm not gonna just outright say that he wins the race. I think he could, but I'll say that Kyle Busch gravitates towards the front, leads a healthy portion. The way that he races on Sunday is gonna have us all going, well, yeah, he's got a lot left in the tank.
I like it.
All right,
Spicy
Cole.
take. I've been brew on this, and I still honestly, my spicy take coming into this episode, and now it kind of seems redundant after I'm like, put your butts in the seats, but I'm like, just make COTA a dirt track at this point.
Well, look, they should.
That's my spicy take.
Do you remember that Heat game where they put dirt on Richmond? They should have done that about 6 years ago. I'm telling you. At
Oh
least for
my-
one of them.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm trying to think of some names here. Give me Noah G for the win.
Okay.
Aggressive driver. His give a frick meter's broken at this point.
Very.
I mean, just as spicy for a reason. I'm going to ride and die Noah G in regards to my spicy takes this year, it seems like. So that's what we're rolling with.
Caliente.
I mean, I ain't got a single one right yet. So, I mean, what's another week?
That's right.
Anyways, all right, Austin, this is your segment, my guy.
Yes, talking about the pick'em competition that we do week in and week out. We'll cover the truck race from Atlanta first, just to kind of give you some results. Blake finished in first place this past week, getting the win, predicting the winner of the truck race, Kyle Busch in P1. I came in second place with Chandler Smith in P5. Chandler just did not have enough in the tank to get it going. Cole had McDowell, and he finished P12, so Cole finished third. And Kent picked Corey Heim, who got into trouble early on and finished in P23. But obviously, we do not have a truck race this weekend, so we will not pick again until Las Vegas in 2 weeks. So that is unfortunate. Blake is still the only person to have locked in his championship pick regarding the trucks, with Corey Heim winning at Daytona. So
Make the right choice, NASCAR.
we will move on to Xfinity. Xfinity, Blake got it right again with another P.
Where was this a luck on Sunday?
Austin Hill finished P1 at Atlanta, and so Blake took the W. And then I came in second again with Eric Almirola coming in P3. Thought he was going to win it, but just did not have enough right at the end. Cole finished in third with Jeb Burton, finishing P6. And then Kent last again. The Jesse Love coming in P team. And Blake had a double victory with the Xfinity because his championship prediction is locked in. Hill is going into the playoffs. So Kent and Blake both have their championship predictions locked up. So we will start for COTA weekend with Kent. Kent, you cannot pick Austin Hill, and you cannot pick Jesse love. Other than that, you have a stacked lineup going into this week. Who are you picking?
I should have probably thought about this before this
You need us to
exact
throw out some names for you?
moment. I'm scrolling through here. I know who the ringers are. I know who are gonna be the guys who gravitate towards the front. And I'm gonna go with William Byron. He's gonna make me regret it, but I'm gonna go with William Byron.
I was going.
Blake, you weren't going to get nothing because you pick last. All right. Next up is Coleman.
All right, Austin, I want you to pick Connor Zilich because I'm going to pick Sam Mayer this weekend.
Right. Ooh, Sam Mayer. Interesting pick.
He's really good at road course races. So what the heck was it? It was the blue
Mid-Ohio? Was it Mid-Ohio?
Yeah.
That's probably what you're thinking of.
Road America.
Road America.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that's where we want it.
Man, I mean, this is just a stacked lineup.
I mean, you got Ross, making a one-time deal for this week. I'm not sure if he'll be back in the rotation for the next race, but, very aggressive driver, and he has that history of those good Cup finishes.
It's hard because it truly is a field that is absolutely stacked with guys. I think the Xfinity race is probably going to be more interesting than the Cup race in a lot of ways.
I put money on that.
But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Connor. I'm going to do it for my boy Cole. I think Cole's going to get his championship prediction locked in. I think Connor is the guy I got to go with. All right, Blake, you can't pick Truex and you can't pick Austin Hill. Who you got?
Give me for the Xfinity Series, I will take
Eddie D. Got it.
It's not a terrible pick.
Give me Ross for the Xfinity Series.
Ross Chastain?
Yeah. Honorable mention was Jeremy Clements.
All right. So just to recap, I forgot to bring this up. For the Truck Series, the way the regular season standings stand, I am in the lead for the Truck competition with 7 points. Blake has 5, and Cole and Kent are tied for last with 4 points. In Xfinity, there is a 3-way tie for the lead, 666. So not a great number.
Caesar.
But Austin, myself, Cole, and Blake are at 6, and Kent has 2.
I'm going to retire.
And then I would have give you the odds for the Xfinity race, but I've not been able to find any betting sites that have the odds. Atlanta, just to kind of review what happened with the race, Cole picked Ryan Blaney. Almost got the win, but Cole finished in first place with a P4 finish from Blaney. Kent finished in second, not last, with a P12 with Logano. I finished third with a P28 from Cindric. Unfortunately, Thanks, Larson. And then Blake finished last with his driver finishing last. Brad Keselowski finishing in P39, got caught up in Chase Elliott's misfortune there in the second stage. So, but it was not a total loss for me this week. My championship pick has been locked in to the playoffs. I am the first one to have mine locked in. Christopher Bell was my pick, and he is going to the playoffs. So far, the regular season standings go Cole as a lead with 7 points. Blake is second with 5, and me and Kent are tied at the bottom with 4 points. And so far, no one has gotten a stage win 2 races in, but I have a feeling that is about to change as we move into the season. Moving forward, just, obviously, and also our guest last week, Bart, Cole Custer did not win the race. He finished in P36.
Poor Bart.
So, sorry, Bart, but, just kind of looking ahead, obviously, we don't make our predictions until after qualifying, but going into it, Blake, you got first pick. You guys that you can't give to Briscoe and Brad K. What are some names? The field is yours to choose from. Who are you? It's kind of obvious. I think who you are thinking, but
yeah, you obviously got your ringers with SVG and Dinger, but I'm looking at Alex Bowman this weekend.
I'm in second, and I don't want to reveal fully who I'm thinking at the moment. What the heck? I'll do it because I don't think Blake will take him anyway. But I'm eyeing Chris Buescher. He hasn't performed exceedingly well at COTA, but overall, he's pretty consistent at road courses. He may not be the guy that's going to win the race, but he might be enough to get me a top finish. But we'll see. But that's the guy I'm looking at. Cole, who are you looking at going into?
If SVG's still on the board as the third pick, you bet your butt I'm picking him. That's almost. I ain't gonna call y'all idiots, but it's crazy that I wouldn't let it get to Kent. That's all I'm saying is like,
Yeah.
letting Kent pick SCVG.
That's okay. Honestly, you could have had them anyways. I wasn't going to pick them.
He'll probably wreck on lap
He
one,
will.
knowing my luck.
No, it's hard to argue with the fact that Christopher Bell has been trending positively at this racetrack, and man, he's just good everywhere. And it's rare to find a driver who's good everywhere these days. And so, if I had to pick right now, I'd go Steve Bell.
Got momentum too. I mean,
Yeah.
literally coming off his first big super speedway win. I mean,
Go ahead.
now he is pro super speedway now. By the way, just so you
That's
guys
right.
know,
His opinion has changed. It was a long week.
I genuinely think, though, for us, it's going to come down to qualifying. It's going to come down to that starting grid. If any of our guys that we listed are starting outside of P20, they're not going to be. I'm not considering them at all. I have a feeling that track position is going to be key to winning this race. And
unless they can flip some stages with the pit strategy.
yeah, even then, it's going to be iffy. So, qualifying could really shift all those opinions for us. It just really depends on what happens on Saturday and how practice is going to be telling. I'm excited because we actually get practice this week. We actually get practice. We get to see truly who has the fast car, who's hitting their marks, who has a good car coming into this weekend and a good setup. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, that's the Pick'em segment for this week.
and with that, I mean, next week after that, guys, I mean, are y'all? I think it's Phoenix, right? So it's desert time. I mean, for the first time this year. Of course, last year, we know who won Phoenix as well. So, I mean, honestly, the start of the year is almost like William Byron's playhouse almost. And then you get to the middle of the season, that's when it starts to kind of break down a little bit. So I do find it kind of funny that we didn't even mention William Byron in contention for the win for COTA. So, heck, it could be any Hendrick car. I mean, think how good Kyle Larson is on road course races. We didn't even mention Kyle Larson.
I know.
And Chase is a ringer, not so much in this car, but he's had good runs.
Yeah. I mean, his first win, Watkins Glen, right? So, I mean, it's...
his last win in a road course race was 2021 COTA, right? Or did he win another one later in the year?
I don't know, Blake. This was one of your favorite drivers. You should know this.
He won. Yeah, I think that might have been his last road course win.
He rode the fence pretty good at Watkins Glen last year.
You know who else is really good at riding the wall? Christopher Bell. With that, guys, we are going to conclude this podcast. Thank you guys for listening to us, watching us on the YouTube channel. And as always, we really appreciate anything in regards to the review category. If you want to send us a review, we'd appreciate it, especially if you've been listening to more than one episode. Just leave some nice, honest feedback. And
and we got a special guest next week, too.
we do have a special guest. Do you want to introduce the special guest?
Yeah.
Or tease them a little bit, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah. My next week I'll have one of my friends, Brett. I've known him since we both were in 4-H together I was several years ahead of him in school, but he is one of our supporters in Ecuador. His family lives there, but he is a fan of all things racing. He's a big fan of IndyCar, big fan of NASCAR, big fan of IMSA. He follows those 3 racing series pretty closely. So yeah, and he'll have some perspectives on COTA because he enjoys road course racing. So be excited to have him on the pod next week.
All right, and just tell him to follow me back on Instagram on the Full White Podcast.
He doesn't have Instagram at the moment.
I'm kidding.
So,
I figured that's the reason why. But I guess we probably should get on Facebook. But I'm also like, I don't want
And be a Facebook mom.
post the little minion memes, NASCAR minion meme.
That's honestly how I find my news nowadays. Is the Minion meme
Minion
page.
memes done. See you guys next week.